With Elementor 3.6, now you get the option to use the experimental feature of Flexbox containers. But then you're probably wondering, what was the need for this new type of sections called containers? Well, as you may well know with Elementor, if the columns aren't managed properly, it can result in the creation of a lot of divs and DOM elements which can harm your website's performances. Now, how can you get access to this new feature? Well, it's very simple actually. All you have to do is go to Elementor, Settings, under the Experience tab, scroll down the page, and here you have Flexbox Container. Click on the drop-down menu, select Active, scroll down your page, and then Save. And that's it. It's activated now. Let's go down to the nitty-gritty of this matter and let's consider what the technical difference is between the two. And we thought that the best way to show you is to create two identical pages. So one is built using the old sections and the other using the new method using containers. Okay, so let me show you. So here are our two pages here. So this one is built using the old Elementor section with display block. And this one is built using the new Elementor container with display flex. Okay, so what's the difference between the two? Well, it's very simple actually. So let's go down the page here. So as you can see, those two pages are identical. So let's right click on this and let's discover our section. So inspect. Very good. So we're going to select our main section here. There it is. And as you can see by the side, we have the CSS code here attached to it. Okay, so if we scroll down and we try to locate our section, there you go. As you can see, this one says display block. Now, if we do the same thing with our new type of containers, if we scroll down the page, right click at the same spot, inspect, and there you go. Immediately here, you can see it says display flex. Now, some of you might not be familiar with CSS and you're probably wondering, but what is CSS? Well, in a nutshell, CSS are codes responsible for how your website looks. So it's like adding style to your plain HTML structure. So CSS comes with multiple properties like, for instance, position, color, font, background images, etc., etc. And its purpose is to beautify your website. And then we have display properties as well. Now, if you want to learn more about CSS, we highly recommend you visit this website here. So this one is w3schools.com. And from here, you can learn basically everything about CSS, from the most basics to most advanced features. So to give you an example here, as you can see, we have body, background color, light blue, H1 settings here, and font family as well. You can try this for yourself immediately. All you have to do is click on this button here. And as you can see, you have the results here, okay? And you can even test your own code. So if you wanted to replace light blue here with orange, let's say, okay, you can run the code and you have the result here immediately on the left-hand side. So this is a very practical way to learn CSS. So feel free to try it out and we'll leave a link in the description below. So now coming back to our topic here, the display property in CSS defines how the components of your website will be displayed. So your divs, hyperlinks, headings, images, etc., how they are going to be placed on the web page. And as the name suggests, this property is used to define the display of the different parts of a web page. Now let me show you how this display feature works in CSS. So if we go back to our website here, w3schools.com, as you can see, we're on the display page here and it works very simply. All you do is type in display and then a value. So you could have inline, you could have block, you could have flex, maybe grid as well, or none altogether if you don't want to display any at all. So today we are going to focus on those two here, so block and flex, and we're going to show you the difference between those two. So let me show you very quickly a visual representation of how this works. Okay, so let's take block first. So block, it will add all these elements one by one and it will stack them up on top of each other as blocks, hence the name obviously, you know. So if you go back to our WordPress dashboard now, we go to Elementor, settings. We're going to disable this experiment now, okay? So on the Flexbox container inactive, and let me show you quickly. So if we save this and let's open our demo page, So there you go, just like this. As you can see, this one is display block. So let's put this to the test. Now, if we scroll down the page, we add a structure here, just one column all together. And let's add an item. So let's add a heading. And now if we duplicate this all together, as you will see, it will stack them up on top of each other. So it's going to take the full width and it will stack them up all together on top of each other, and so on, as many as you will add. So the only way to have them side by side would be to actually duplicate the column itself. So we duplicate this, and now we have them side by side. Now, as a result, this will create a lot of divs, a lot of sections and subsections, which adds a lot to the code itself. And as a result, this will impede the performances of your website. So this is the example for display block. Now, let's go and reactivate Flex container here. So active. Let's scroll down the page. Let's save this. And now let me show you on an Elementor page. So this time we're going to use display flex. So let's reproduce the same experiment here. So we're going to add a structure, and immediately, as you can see here, you can select the direction. So down the page or to the right. So let's select to the right. Okay. And let's add the same elements. So we're going to add a heading just like this. Now we're going to duplicate it. There you go. And as you can see, it's adding it to the right of our element. So this is a flex section, okay? So duplicate again. And the more you add, the more it will distribute this evenly across the whole row, okay? So this is the difference between flex and block, okay? So to sum up very quickly, display block will stack up all the sections on top of each other, and to display them side by side, you'll end up creating a lot of divs and DOM elements, obviously, you know. Now with display flex, like we just discovered now, it is flexible, hence the name flex, okay? Which means that you can arrange your divs and single container in a distributed way, which will make arranging components easier without creating new rows or columns. Now again, to enable this feature, simply go to your backend Elementor settings, and next to the flex container, you have a drop-down menu, select active, scroll down the page, and then you can save your settings, okay? And then it will be active on your website. Now, just a word of caution here. As you can see, the status is set to alpha. That means this is still in test version. So if the alpha, then the beta, and then the final release. So I would highly recommend not to use this on a production website, but to wait for the final version to be released before you do so. Now, let's discover the Flex containers more in depth. Now, let me show you a little trick very quickly here to discern if you're using display flex or display block. So as you can see here, this is the previous method, the old method. Let's call it this way. Okay, this is display block. So if you hover on top of a section, as you can see, with the plus sign, those 6 dots, and the X, and the background color of this section is a bright blue. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, now if we go back here, this is using now the flex, the containers. And as you can see, if we hover on top, you still have your section here, the plus sign, the 6 dots, and the plus. But this time it is a darker blue. As you can see, it's a different shade altogether. And this is how you know if you are using display flex or display block. Now, if you wanted to test those features for yourself without needing any hosting, you can do so by using the playground.elementor.com feature. Basically, this is a demo, a Flexbox demo that's ready-made for you so that you can learn from it and test it out for yourself without, again, needing any hosting in place. And as you can see, this is broken down in 10 easy lessons that you can go through and discover more about it. So we'll leave a link in the description below again, okay? So let's go back to our Elementor page now. Let's enable our navigator here. Let's click on this. And as you can see, these are all containers now. So we don't have any sections, any divs, and all of that is just containers. And each container is made out of different widgets. So here, this is a heading. This one is made out of 2 buttons, as you can see, and so on and so on. Okay, so this is basically how this is built now. Now, let's select our very first container here. So you can either click on this or the title here, container itself, okay? And if you go to items, we have 3 different ways of organizing and placing our elements on our page. So as you can see, we have direction, we have align items, and we have justify content. So the very first one here, direction, this one is pretty self-explanatory. So basically you can select a row. So if you decide to select this one, you will display your items starting from the left-hand side and going towards the right-hand side. If you select column, it's the same principle, but you will stack them on top of each other going down the page. And then we have the reverse order. So this is right to left. And if you select reverse column, it will stack them up starting from the bottom up. Okay, so this is basically it. So this one is pretty self-explanatory and easy to understand. The two confusing ones now with this new principle is the align items and the justify content. So we're going to make this visually easy for you to understand. And we found the best way ever. So align items, as you can see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different methods here. One is called flex start. The other one is called center. The other one flex end, and then stretch. So what's the difference between all of these different positions here? So for this, we go to this page here. And for this, we found the best visual representation for you to understand that very easily. So let's say you have your container and you added a few different widgets to it, okay? So you have A, B, and C. So this is baseline, start, center, and stretch. And let's see now if we shrink those containers, how they will behave. Okay, so let's shrink this. And as you can see, they all display differently now. So the baseline, basically, they all be centered. And the longest one, the longest basically widget, will define the height of the container. Now, if you select start, it's the same. B is defining the height of the container, but A will stay here on top, which is the starting line, okay? Now with center, so they'll be basically centered in the middle, and is the opposite of start. So basically this will be at the bottom of your container, and stretch, they all be the same height throughout the whole container. So this is basically the difference between those 5 different methods. And now if we expand again, as you can see, they have the exact same behavior based on the height of your container. So next we have the justify content. As you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different methods here. So this one is called start, center, end, space between, space around, and evenly spaced as well, okay? So let me show you visually what these do and how they behave differently again. And for this, the containers will need to have a certain width, a minimum width, for this to behave differently, obviously, you know? So if we shrink this, as you can see, they all look the same, exactly the same, because the width is not sufficient to actually translate the behavior of those different sections, okay? Now, if we expand, as you can see, center basically will center all the different widgets centered in the middle. Flex start basically will start from the left-hand side, flex end from the right-hand side. Now with space between, space around, and spaced evenly. So these might look a little bit similar, but they're quite different. So what's the difference between space between? Well, basically the spacing in between A, B, and C will be the same. As you can see, we have 2 spacing in between. Space around, that means that there's an equal spacing on the left and on the right on each of those items. And as you can see, there's a double spacing between A and B, because there's a spacing on the left of B and on the right of B, and the same with between C and B. So basically the same spacing, the same amount on the left and the right of each item. Now the space evenly, basically here, all the spacing in between those 3 different widgets, and they'll be evenly distributed across the whole width of your container, basically, okay? So now the stretch method, now what's this one? Well, basically your 3 different widgets will take the whole width all together and 33% each. If you have 3 items, you have 2 items, it'd be 50% each, and so on, okay? Now, if you wanted to play around with those properties and test them out, we're going to leave another link in the description here, which is the Flexbox playground. So here you can add items. So let's add a few, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for instance, okay? And then from here, you can select flex direction, flex wrap, justify content, align item, and align content, which are basically roughly what's happening at the moment with Elementor, okay? And this will help you to figure out which is what, okay? So basically, if we click on this, we have the row reverse. As you can see, this is going to start from the right to the left, and this one is left to right. And then in column mode, we go basically from top to bottom, and then column reverse is starting from the bottom up, okay? And then we have flex wrap as well, so you can have wrap and wrap reverse. And then we have the same with the flex start, you know, so start or flex end. So this is going to start from the top, and then this one will start from the bottom. We can center this, so this is evenly centered in the middle of our section, and then a space between, and then space around. So these are basically the same ones that we just discovered here all together. But you can feel free to play around with this, and this will help you understand how these are behaving on your page. Now we're going to link this one as well here in the description, the Advanced Container Knowledge. So this is basically from the Elementor Academy themselves. And as you can see, we have all the different properties here. So feel free to have a read through this, and this will help you to understand fully how these work. So that's everything now for the technical side of things, and I hope that by now you have hit the red button below and made it gray to let us know that you understood everything perfectly. Now, obviously, it is recommended to subscribe to our channels as we will be covering all future Elementor videos with Flex so that you'll get used to it as well. Now, you are probably wondering if all the Plus Addons widgets will be compatible. Well, as we speak, all our widgets are going through compatibility checks. And once done, all our 120 plus powerful Elementor widgets will indeed be ready to flex its features in new Flex containers. Okay, very good. Now let's discover a practical example of this new feature. And for this, we're going to build something together. Okay, so for this example, we're going to go back to our previous method here, display block, and now we're going to reproduce this using the flex method. So right here, just like that, okay? So we're just going to reproduce the header together here. So basically only this section. So what I'm going to do is just to delete this, and we're going to build this from scratch again together, just to show you how it works. And then after this, we are going to compare the page speed load in between the two, just to see which one is the fastest, which one is the most advantageous when you're looking for performances, okay? So what we're going to do now, we're going to just add a new section here, new structure. So let's click on this, and we're going to select the row. So let's click on this one now, and we are going to set a minimum height of 600 pixels, and let's give it a background color. So background color here, and we are going to select the same blue as this one, okay? So let's select the color here, color picker. Let's pick this one here, okay? This is the one that we want. That's perfect. And now let's reproduce what we have here. So we have a heading, okay? And then two call to action buttons in the middle. Okay, so let's go ahead with this. So we're going to add a heading now. So let's drag and drop this here. So we can change the content. Now, there you go. So let's go to style. Let's change the font color to white. And let's change the size of our font maybe to 60 pixels, just like that, okay? Now we go back to content. We can center this. Very good. And now let's click on our container itself. And we go into items. And now we can use all these different properties here. So let's use center, just like this. Now it's fully centered in the middle and horizontally and vertically. And now let's add our two buttons like we have here, okay? So let's do this on button 1. Let's drag and drop it. And then we're going to add the other one. Let's drag and drop it here as well. So as you can see, these are displayed on top now. So if we click on our section here, we have the option to go into items and select row here. Column, sorry, or reverse column, in which case it will display properly here. Now we want them to be side by side. As you can see, these are next to each other. And obviously the old method, you needed to create a section and then two columns. So now we have the option to create a new container here and align the items within that container itself. So we drag and drop this one here on our page. There you go. And as you can see, because the order is inversed, is adding it on the top. So what we can do now is to change the order of our sections again back to normal here into column mode, just like this. And now we're going to grab our two buttons and insert them into our new container. So 1 and 2, just like this. Okay, now we have them here. So obviously this new container here, the alignment of this one is also to be defined from here. So as you can see in this case, if you want them side by side, we need to select row. There you go. And now we can select middle and center. There you go. Now we have them side by side in the middle. And now if you wanted to, you can add a little bit of gap in between. So this is the option here. As you can see, now we can space them up a little bit. There you go. This is just about perfect now, isn't it? And now if you wanted to add a bit of spacing between the heading and the buttons, we can do that as well. So let's click on the other container this time. We go into items, and now we can add a gap as well. As you can see, now we can space this up in between those two different containers, okay? And now we can save our work. So let's click update. Very good. So now we have the same structure here using display flex that we used to have here from display block, okay? Now let's compare the performances between those two. And for this, we're going to use this tool here, Yellow Lab Tools. And again, we'll leave a link in the description below. You can use it yourself to test your own pages and see the performances of your website. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a link here of both of those pages, and then we'll go back and see the results. Okay, so we have our results here. So this is the result for the old Elementor section. As you can see, this one is with the red background, and we get a score of 90 out of 100. And this is the new one, as you can see, with the blue background, and we get the exact same score of 90 over 100. Now, bear in mind that this is a very short page, obviously, you know, there isn't much on it. This is just to test things out here. Now, if we go back to our results here, if we scroll down the page, this is the most important part, actually, is the DOM complexity. So DOM elements count, as you can see here, with 194, and here DOM max depth 15. So 194 over 15. Okay, now let's have a look at our new type, display flex. And here we have a DOM complexity of 173 over 9. So as you can see, there is a marginal difference there. But again, we have a very short page. There isn't much content on this. Now imagine if you had a full-blown website, a full-size website, the home page, etc., then it will become more significant, obviously, you know. And this is precisely where this new method introduced by Elementor, the display flex, will make a huge difference. So let me show you another aspect here. Again, if we go back to the DOM max depth here, if we open this in a new tab, so you will see what it looks like. So basically, these are all the divs and all the sections being created at the moment using the old method. And now we'll do the same here with the DOM max depth in the new method, and let's have a quick look. And as you can see, there is a lot less elements being created here. And again, just to reemphasize this, this is a very short page. There isn't much in it. Now imagine if you have a complex website with a complex structure and a lot more content, this will make a significant difference to your performances. Okay, now before we conclude, you might be wondering, is it possible to convert the old type, so using display block, into the new type using display flex? Can you convert your pages and all your elements? Well, the good news is yes, that Elementor, they have put together a very easy tool for us to convert that. So let's do this together now as an example. So we go back to our old Elementor sections here with display block. So we have that small gear here for the settings. Let's click on this. And as you can see right on top, we have convert to container. So let's click on this together. And there you go. As you can see on top, we have the old type with the display block. And just underneath, we have the new type with display flex. And it's the same for all the section underneath. And then after this, feel free to delete the one that you don't need, the one that you don't want. And then basically, this is how you can convert your old type display block to the new type display flex. Well, that's all for now. I hope this video helped you clear everything out in relation to the new Elementor Flex. And I'm sure that you would agree that it does come with a learning curve, but then it definitely addresses the big issue of performances with the Elementor websites. We at the Plus Addons for Elementor are excited and looking forward to work in sync with Elementor to make web easier for everyone. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section below. Now, we are open to your suggestion, and if your favorite feature is missing, then feel free to add it to our roadmap so that we can hear about your great ideas. And for this, simply go to roadmap.theplusaddons.com, and from there you can submit your suggestions. And we'd like to thank you in advance for your help and support. Again, if you liked and learned something new in this video, then feel free to share with your friends, your Facebook communities, and make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so that YouTube knows that you loved this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.